looking after the Home Department and the Vigilance Department, where I look after the police, the jails, the prosecution, very, very far removed from all this. But I'd just like to correct it. The report was a little dated. The government made a mistake and actually promoted me to Additional Chief Secretary. So after So now that I am not in this sector, I would not like to speak of all the things that we did during that time. A lot of you were there at that time, and although a lot of things were done, I would just not like to speak of that because I don't think we are here for that. And possibly the advantage that I feel that I have now, and a lot of you also have, is that I am no longer in the system. And I am no longer the head of the IP office where I have to either defend the IP office or to act in a certain way because I am heading that office. And I have also perspectives from outside. So I think the intention now is to look at it from a larger angle and to see how, from a larger viewpoint, what changes need to be made and how we need to take things forward. The idea is not to think of all the achievements, but to how to take things forward. And since I see a lot of retired people who were actually working with me, there are people here, I think they can also give inputs because we don't, at least we have planned that we will not speak too long, and we would like to take inputs from all of you, and especially from all of you who have worked earlier, and see what your perspective is to change things. Now, what I would like to start with is to understand what we want or what is the purpose of the patent system, the IPR system. It's just to list out a few purposes. One is getting the latest and state-of-the-art technology into the country, either through technology transfer or through indigenous technology development. That is the first thing, because that is what we all want. We want technology, the best technology, either from outside or we develop it inside. The other is that the technology that is developed or taken is cheap and is appropriate for the country. I don't think I need to define what is appropriate. It is something that is more useful to the country in the condition in which the populace of the country is, and also for taking it forward. The third is also to get the latest products into the country. Now, a lot of products were not seen in the country when the IPR protection was not so much, which we all see, all use. And that could either be by manufacture of the goods within here or through licensing or setting up of manufacturing infrastructure within the country. We want to promote research in the country, and at the end we want to make sure that IPR does not make things so expensive that the normal common populace is not able to afford it. Now, there is one thing about just pushing for numbers. I think we cannot only push for numbers, and in any case, whatever numbers of examiners has gone up, whatever number of applications have gone up, we will always be playing a catch-up game. So while we have made rules for expedited examination for, say, startups, but I don't think that sufficiently covers the purpose of the country. We need other things. Like for the USPTO, it has other provisions, like it even expedites examination depending on the age and the health of the inventor. But what is more important is that it identifies technologies like which would enhance the quality of the environment, which would improve energy conservation, which would even help the country fight terrorism. Now, the short point is that it should be the national interest of the country that should govern our policies. Because in the end, the patent or any other regime has to first of all help the country. So, what are these technologies? Now, this is a very fast and changing dynamic world where the needs of the country are also changing. What was there, the need, say, 5 years back is not the need now. So perhaps we can have a body of people which could be people from, say, the IITs, the medical colleges, the scientists, the strategists, the defense and industry people, even government strategists, who could, on a continuous basis, identify technologies which are needed and possibly make policies. Policies would be made accordingly to expedite applications which are in those technologies, which would actually help the country. So one, make a body which would identify such technologies and then expedite those applications. And it's not that it is against the law as such, the TRIPS and everything, because the US is doing it, many countries are doing it. We can also do it. It is also a fact that even now, most of the patent applications are by foreign companies. But we require that when the patent is given, we would also like to have either the transfer of technology, or we would like them to set up manufacturing utilities in India and not only keep exporting things. So can we also think of a way in which we incentivize them to either manufacture or to license to companies within India the patents that we grant to them? Can we expedite such things? Again, rather than to have a mad rush for examination, we can identify specific fields in which patent applications would be expedited. This would separate the wheat from the chaff. The load of the patent examiners would also go down, and at the same time, the requirements of the country would be met. It is impossible for patent examiners and controllers to have all the knowledge in the world. Whatever is going on in the world, you cannot, and it is not reasonable to presume that the examiner would know everything that goes on in the world. Things are very advanced, things are going on absolutely in a way that possibly nobody could keep up. So how could we get around that? Can we have then a team of experts, again from outside the office? Say from IITs again, if it is a engineering related thing, from big science institutions. They could be called, say, for a day-long seminar on specific patent applications. And we would see that there is no conflict of interest. They could be called, and in a collaborative effort with the patent examiners and controllers, they could sit down and actually examine those applications which are absolutely out of this world and we don't know about it. Perhaps we could have another body, another few groups like that, which we could call as per requirement. Say in biotech something is going on, we have a group in biotech outside the office, who we could call to the office. We could sit together and examine those. Again, how can we make the work of the examiners and controllers simpler? There is a lot of duplication that is still going on. There is a lot of examination that is going on around the world at the same time for the same patent application. It's a national law, so everybody applies everywhere, either through PCT or however. But the same thing is being duplicated. Now there are ways like the patent prosecution highway, the IP5 or whatever, which are designed to actually reduce duplication. Now we have always thought that national interest would not allow that. But we can always have SOPs where we on the one time collaborate with other countries which are doing the same thing, and we ensure that our national interests are not jeopardized in any way. We actually have the final right for granting or not granting it with us. Another thing that I would like to say is that there are a large number of frivolous patent applications, a large number of applications which are never going to be commercialized. And the purpose of the patent system is to commercialize them, to enforce them. Because without that, there is no meaning. And without that, unless there is profit, unless there is commercialization, there is no profit. Unless there is enforcement, there is no commercialization. So perhaps we need to then sort out such applications, have a screening mechanism where we can see the applications which make this screening mechanism could again be within the office, could also help from people outside the office, which could identify and screen out frivolous applications. Perhaps one of the ways of doing it is the utility patent system, where they would be guided, routed towards there. But another way could be if the applicants could be encouraged by some mechanism like fee change. Now, if say a patent is when it is granted, we reduce the fees. So at least the person who is applying would self-regulate, so that he would apply for things where the fees is reduced, and he would at least be encouraged to work towards that. So either the fees reduced when the grant is done or when the opposition succeeds, which is even an even better thing. Because there's somebody opposing and still you go through. Why don't we reduce the fees for such kind of thing? Perhaps that could be a policy that could be made, and we could go towards that. Before I hand it over, and in the end, as I was saying, the proof of the pudding is in the commercialization of the patent. And till now, possibly we don't have the understanding of the markets for technology. We need to improve the understanding of the markets, and we need to develop more markets. Even as on date, I doubt if we have a technology market where all the patents can be exchanged for a price, and their price, the market prices, the stock prices as such would determine the value of the patent. So why can we not move towards that? Again, I started from the beginning that I was looking also after the police. Now, enforcement is something for which in the end the police has to be there. Now, if you go to a small town or a village in a place like Bihar and ask them what this trademark is, what is patent, they would know nothing about it. Where do you expect that person to enforce your patent or your trademark when he doesn't have any understanding about it? So that is another thing that is a great requirement, that everybody needs to know about this. And we were working towards, at that time, a system where we were talking to CBSE, where at least a chapter would be put in the class 10th syllabus, the curriculum, about patents, trademarks, and also that at least a small exposure is given to every student in the country. And for engineering colleges and science institutions, there should be a subject where patents. It doesn't have to be a big degree, but there should be a subject in every science subject or in every engineering subject. In fact, where I was talking about fees being an incentive, if you reduce the fees, can it be an incentive? I'll just give you a small thing. During our times, we put in a change in the law where the application fees were reduced by 10% for applications which were filed online as compared to offline. Now, after 1 month we reviewed it, and the percentage of online applications went up from less than 30% to over 80%, just by making that small change in fees. So the economic incentive does work, and we have to possibly think of all these things. I will not continue any longer. I'll ask the other panelists to speak, and perhaps then we can have questions or answers, or we can have suggestions from the public. Thank you.